Hello, in a previous tutorial, Jason Hill commented, I would like the background to be changed based on an input select state, where the input select state displays a list of the image names. And as I showed in chapter 2 of that tutorial, we just have the styles, card, a background tab, and then the full URL, including the file name of the image you want to display. Also, using round and cover, we can have the image cover the whole of the card background. So first thing we need to do is in your config directory, in the www folder, you need to add some images. Now I've added another folder in here called picture slides. And in here, I've added several images, including a couple of animated GIFs. Next, let's make an input select to reference those images. And as you can see, it lists all the images, the JPEGs and the animated GIFs that I put in this folder. And it's just the file names at this point. We don't need the directory structure. So with that, we're going to restart Home Assistant so those changes take effect. Now that Home Assistant is restarted, I've added that drop-down list, that input select here. It's populated with all our file names. So at the moment, that's not going to do anything because we haven't told the card to read this. But let's look at the card and have a look where the images are referenced. So in the card itself, in the button, this first one, we scroll down, and as I've shown in that previous tutorial, we add styles, then card, and then we're going to make a list because we need two items here. So the first one is background, and then we're going to use the URL. We use the full path and file name. So that's this thing here. The www folder is referenced as local in the URL. Then we have the folder name. So as you can see, I've used picture slides here, and then the item you want to use. So at the moment, I'm using washingmachine.jpg. So to get this to change and read the input select, we need to change this code a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of that. We're going to put the pipe command in, make a new line, tab in a little bit. From there, we're going to tell the button card we're going to write some code. And we do that with the 3 square brackets. And then just so I don't forget, we're going to tab in again and close the code section. So add a new line, we'll tab forward to get in this code segment. So the first thing we're going to do is make a variable. And I'm going to call this one images. And I want images to equal the state of the input select. So to do that, we'll do state, open a square bracket, speech marks, the input select dot, the name that we called it, and I called mine background images. We'll close off the speech marks, close off the square bracket, and then we'll do dot state. So that's the first line. So we're going to end that with a semicolon. The next line is where we're going to use that state. So we're going to use the URL. So what we need to do is return a single quote, URL, and open a bracket, do /local, /, remember that's the www folder. So in that folder, I have a subfolder, and I called that one picture _ slides. Now before we had the washingmachine.jpg, instead of that this time, I want to use this variable from the input selector. So to use that variable, it's quite simple. We do another single speech mark, plus, open bracket, images, which is the variable that we declared here. And then to finish it off, we just do the reverse. So close brackets, another plus, single quote, and then to finish the URL line, we do a final close bracket. And then just in case the image is too big for the button, we'll do a round, and finally finish that line with another single quote. So we'll save that. And as you can see, if we select, we go back to the washing machine, the background changes. There's our CPU, nice little circuit one there. And of course, we've got our animated GIFs. And then finally on the styles, we'll do one more line. We'll tab in. So this is in line with the background. And here we're going to put in background -size with the value of cover. And this will ensure that if the button is huge, the background image will size accordingly. One thing to note, that on restart of Home Assistant or a reload of an input select, the first item in the list will be the one that's selected. So in this case, washing machine is the first one in the list. So that's the background there all the time, regardless of whether the entity is turned on or off or not. So you may not want that. So we can take it from the background to the on state. As you can see, I've already got an on state here. This entity is one of my fans, and the icon speed will change based on the speed of the fan itself. So to have the background image only display when the entity is on. So I'm just going to cut that out. We don't need that, so remove that. And then in styles, we've already got the icon. So let's put this one after. I'm going to paste that in there. And if we select all of it, hit Control and the square bracket key, we want to line card up with icon. So there. So now that's done, the background will only show if the entity is on. And of course, the input select works. So if we turn that off, the input select's not going to do anything, as that now only shows when the entity is on. One final thing is we can automate that. At the moment, it's static and governed by the input select. But we can control this input select from elsewhere. So, for example, I've got the input select in Node-RED, and this call service node, I'm using the domain, which is input select. The service is select next. So every time this call service node is triggered, it will select the next item in the list. And of course, the entity ID is the input select itself. And in data, if we do cycle true, it will select each one in the list and then cycle back round and continue round in a cycle. So to demonstrate that, I've got an inject node, and all I'm doing is timestamp because it just needs an input. But for this, I'm triggering it on an interval. So every 3 seconds, it will fire out the timestamp, and that timestamp or anything coming into here will trigger it. So if we turn that back on and deploy, go back to Home Assistant. Now, because this is on, you can see the images are changing every 3 seconds. And of course, if I turn that off, the input select is still changing, but that's no longer affecting the button because we've only told it to show the background once the entity is on. Well, I hope this video was helpful with your projects. Please do share it so others can find it as well. I upload videos whenever I can, so subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Okay.